mama time. Cigarettes. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rights for Vets. Happy Saturday for you. You know, I had two incidents. I hate vehicles. I do. I hate cars for the fact that it's a liability, not an asset. I mean, you got to have it, but you got to pay insurance. You got to pay for your license tag. You get tickets from driving, something wrong. Just the revenue takers. But for the past 2 weeks, I had two incidents with my car due to my wife. My wife takes the car and she parks it in a parking lot at a store. She left the keys in the car. Someone took the car. I asked her, how could you be so stupid in doing something like that? She says, don't worry. She says, I got the license number. Oh, jeez. And then last week, she smashed my car up. $2,000 worth of damage. She hit a tree. I says, what were you thinking? She says, I don't understand it myself. She says, I beeped the horn. I don't know. So anyway, welcome back to Rights for Vets. Happy Saturday to you. In Michigan, it's a real good weather. Sunshine, nice and warm. Birds are chirping. I'm alive. I'm above ground. I'm happy. And we're doing good. Today, what I want to do is start showing you when I first started out my videos. I've been doing it for the past 3 years, but under the circumstances beyond my control, I got deleted for the past 2 years because of the incident with the mask. They totally just tore me up. But anyway, as you all know, and if you don't, a lot of you will know that I got in a car accident as a pedestrian. I walked across the street and the guy hit me at 35 miles an hour, and I have short-term memory. I had a second grade education after that, and I went to college before I got hit. But anyway, my writing is atrocious. I'm not used to talking on these StreamYards like I used to talk to people. It's hard. But I want to show you when I first started out my first videos until I started talking to New Guru. Now, New Guru woke me up to the fact that the government's not the answer, and he's right. He really woke me up. Uh, as a military man, I noticed a lot of demented shit, and I got out of it. They wanted me to re-up, and I told them no. I wanted to become a three-striper, a sergeant, and I wouldn't do it. Just to find out when I get home 10 years later, things are starting to change as the military. And if you notice right now, things are getting bad. Your rights are being taken away. And I got something through the mail, and I appreciate you guys sending me, some Gmails and everything else, messages that banks now, when you have a credit card through them, not all banks yet, but a specific one right now, Bank of America, is if you use your credit card, they're going to be going digital on you. You can get a loan up to $5,000, and it's going to be CBDC, central bank digital currency. So be expecting this to come your way. When they start doing that, they're going to have complete control of you. And I mean, they will. And if you think I'm lying to you, go to YouTube and check out China social credit scores system and see what happened to them. Now, they really can't say very much when they're talking on YouTube, but you can tell by their voice that they're not too happy with what's going on with their lives. They can't do anything at all. They got spies that get paid by the government just to see if people say something bad about the government. They throw litter on the ground. They cause fights, and if they do, or even drive wrong, their credit score starts dropping, and eventually they can't do anything at all. They can't go on the trains. They can't fly anywhere. They have no credit. It's all a gimmick, a control deal is what it is. And this was coming your way. I've been trying to tell you people this for the longest time. Now, I've lived on this planet over 70 years, and I've seen bad changes through the government, real bad. And it's coming your way. The government has 248 years behind them, and they gotten worse, not better. And they're doing it purposely. Your government don't give a damn about you. They give you food through corporates that's poisonous to us, so we eat. They know what they're doing. Don't think they're not. People are screaming up and down, oh, government this, government that. No, the government knows what they're doing, and they're going to do it to you, and they don't care. All right, now I'm going to keep quiet. If I do get enough people up here that want to talk, I'll stop my videos, but until then, I'm going to keep going until I get tired. and we're going to start from there. So bear with me. Some of the content is good. You're going to see misspelled words because of my short-term memory. But I have good content and I have bad content. It depends on the person who wants to watch it. So bear with me. We're going to start this up and we'll see what goes on from there. Let me check for audio. Okay, it's working. And we're going to start now. Everybody, thank you. Please enjoy. And I do appreciate it. Oh, by the way, I'll keep my eyes on the messages if anybody wants to come up. Enough of you anyway. Thanks again.
So many times that the Democrats are coming for your guns. Of course, they try to be sneaky about it. But today, Jerry Nadler finally said the quiet part out loud.
Would anyone on the other side dispute that this bill would ban weapons that are in common use in the United States today?
Would the gentleman yield?
I would, for an answer to that question.
Yeah, that's the point of the bill.
So you mean so to clarify, Mr. Chairman, you're saying it is the point of the bill to ban weapons that are in common use in the United States today?
Yes, the problem is
the gentleman will yield. Joining me now is the man who got Nadler to squeal, Congressman Dan Bishop of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, this is about gun confiscation nationwide. Nadler admitted it. You got him to admit it. Good for you.
Well, it's true, Laura. You know very well that the Heller decision held in 2008, the Supreme Court's decision that weapons that are in common use can't be banned under the Second Amendment. People have a right to keep them and bear them for self-defense. But that's what Jerry said. They marked up the bill to ban weapons of which they're the AR-15s and the like, and ammunition magazines, of which there are tens of millions in the United States. And they're just going to defy the United States Supreme Court. That's what they've made clear.
So the AR-15, all the mags that people buy, and they're kind of they're not meant to last forever. So you can't just have one or two. You have to have, if you're a gun enthusiast, you want a decent supply of those. So their goal would be no more of those at all. Period.
Well, and as Laura, I mean, there are people at all times, about 2.5 million of them were sold last year. So people are, facing the conditions in cities where there's disorder and crime, the defunding of police, even in an earlier segment on your show, and more people are concerned and want to have weapons for protection, but Democrats want to ban them. And once they ban these, it's clear they're going to come for more. So that's what they're going to do. They've made it very clear, and unless we stop them, they're going to get it done.
Well, they're just driving up the sales of AR-15s I see today. So Democrat Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy wants to go after the gun makers as well, Congressman, and also end up involving a whole new federal agency to do it. Watch this.
I think that the FTC should absolutely go after these gun makers in the way that they market their weapons of war to teenagers and young adults. It's time for the FTC to go after these gun makers for the way in which they place these weapons in video games like Call of Duty. They use social media influencers to get teenagers to want to be like those celebrities.
Congressman, this seems a bit off the mark even for Democrats, but you got to hand it to them. They're going to use all tools in their toolbox to try to make it impossible for gun manufacturers to exist, kind of like what they're doing with the oil companies.
Well, our markup is still going on at this hour, Laura. I'm going to rejoin it, but they've got another bill to repeal a law passed in 2005 to keep gun manufacturers from being targeted by plaintiffs' lawyers to try to destroy the industry. They're going to at least put through the committee and put through the House a repeal of that bill as well. They mean what they intend to do. They have no respect for the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms.
Congressman, we're actually hearing that the legislation has moved through the Judiciary Committee, so that just broke. So Republicans, you got your work cut out for you across this country. Make your voices heard, and the Senate's going to have to stop this. But Congressman scary for all of us who believe in the Second Amendment. Thank you for doing your part to stand up for it, but that legislation is moving through.
The Constitution is just a piece of paper. That's all it is. It's only as good as the people that control it. As you can see, we don't have the right people to control anything. We have rogue people, and they want to take your rights away, and they're going to do it. People vote these people in for over 30 years, and then they wonder why government don't care about them. Well, people don't care about what's going on because they keep voting in the same people. And government's not the answer. You are. You're the answer. Your government don't give a damn about you. Now they're talking about starting up the draft. That's going to be real nice. As far as I'm concerned, anybody gets the draft, a young kid, get the hell out of Dodge because it's not worth it. They have their own mindset what they're going to do to us. So, all right, let's move on, see what happens here. We got a little, naturally, buffering here. Nothing works right. All right, let me try it again. See if I can do it all over again. All right. Here we go. Round 2.
Joining me now is environmental policy expert and author Michael Schellenberger. Michael, we're seeing an uprising against green policies in many parts of the world, from Sri Lanka to the Netherlands to the US. Let's start with Sri Lanka and let's look at these protesters storming the presidential palace. Just extraordinary scenes. This is what a real coup or insurrection looks like. And the people who are protesting there have said they will continue to occupy the presidential and prime ministerial residences until both leaders officially resign. Michael, we know about the food, energy and financial crisis that's crippled the country, but you argue the underlying cause of the mayhem is that the nation's political leaders had fallen under the spell of green elites peddling ESG, seeing them ban modern fertilisers. Explain to my viewers what is ESG and why it's so dangerous.
Sure. Well, it's good to be with you, Rita. And, of course, for any event like the collapse of a government, there's multiple causes. So Sri Lanka suffered from declining tourism, a big foreign debt. They had COVID lockdowns, but so did many other countries in Asia. What's different about Sri Lanka is that in April of 2021, its president literally banned fertilizer. So you saw, and over 80% of, or 80 to 90% of the country's farmers, 2 million farmers in Sri Lanka out of 22 million people, relied on chemical fertilizers. And they, almost all of them, suffered significant crop declines. So rice, for example, production declined by 20%, which is a huge decline for 1 year. They had to import $450 million worth of rice. And this idea that chemical fertilizers are bad is part of a very dark green agenda. It's been around for over 50 years. It really comes from a pro-scarcity, anti-human form of environmentalism. I'm a pro-human, pro-abundance environmentalist. I think you need abundant food, energy, and water. But the origins of the disaster in Sri Lanka really started with Western intellectuals in the United States and Europe promoting effectively policies that have kept people poor, including people in Asia before the Green Revolution, the true Green Revolution of the 1960s. So I think to understand what's happening in Sri Lanka, you have to understand how the whole country, including the president, embraced very anti-human, pro-scarcity environmental policies.
Well, this ESG, it's very much in vogue here in Australia. Companies are embracing it and changing the way they behave according to their ESG policies. So it's not something that's unique to Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka was praised wisely for having such a high ESG score. They were almost seen as the model nation for others to follow. And like you said, this was only instituted, the fertiliser ban, in April last year. And we've got mayhem on our hands already, Michael.
Yeah, that's right. And so ESG, of course, stands for environmental, social, and governance criteria. And the main ranking of ESG ranks Sri Lanka very high, despite the fact that it, basically had massive crop failures because of its unwillingness to continue to use fertilizer. So I think it exposes the fraud that is ESG. It had been a continuation of what used to be called socially responsible investing. But as you can see, it's obviously terrible socially. In terms of governance, it resulted in the overthrow of a government. And environmentally, it's terrible too. I mean, people have to understand that if you don't use chemical fertilizer, you have to use significantly more land, somewhere between 20 to 50% more land, depending on the crop and the part of the world that you're in. So if you use more land for farming, that's less land for the natural world, for endangered species and endangered habitats. So chemical fertilizers are the reason that we have, almost 8 billion human beings in the world. If it weren't for chemical fertilizers, we would all still be stuck in agrarian poverty, like still so many parts of sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia are.
Michael, this is depressing to see because we should know better. But we are seeing policy U-turns and citizen uprisings in a number of nations in Europe, including the Netherlands. We spoke to a Dutch farmer yesterday on Outsiders, and he said that the Dutch people overwhelmingly stand with the farmers, even as the government and media vilify them. But we're seeing so much of the media who refuse to report on these protests, or when they do, they cast the farmers as some sort of extremists. Where do you see this going, not just in the Netherlands, but across European countries that have embraced net zero lunacy?
I think it's actually really exciting. And isn't it interesting that we've seen now, you saw a government topple in Sri Lanka because the government had banned fertilizer. You're now seeing farmers really threatening the ruling coalition in the Netherlands over the same issue, even though you've got on one hand a middle-income country in the form of Sri Lanka and a very wealthy country in the form of Netherlands. But both are, we're seeing rebellions against these radical pro-scarcity so-called environmental policies. I think it's very exciting. I think that we're going to see a lot more of it. I think people are tired of these top-down directives. Nobody knows more about farming than farmers, and yet you've got these bureaucrats telling them they've got to radically reduce the amount of fertilizer they use. Most people don't know it, Rita, but the fact of the matter is European nations, including the Netherlands as a leader, have been reducing the amount of fertilizer that's required per acre, but they've been doing so based on what's working on the ground. It's not coming from top-down government dictates. It's coming from farmers finding out what works. Farmers don't want to use more fertilizer than they have to. Why would they? It's an additional cost. So I think we're seeing a really lovely rebellion. I hope it continues.
I'm with you. I stand with those farmers because they're giving us an insight in what we may see here in Australia, because the rest of the world might be waking up to the real cost of net zero. But here, we still think this transition to a carbon neutral economy is going to see energy costs plummet. Renewables are seen as cheaper. That's how they're being sold to the Australian public. And we're being told that if we embrace net zero, costs will be lowered. I mean, is that feasible at all without nuclear energy, Michael?
Of course not. And yeah, obviously what you're seeing in Australia, you're seeing energy shortages. So you can detect a pattern around the world. What the elites want, the World Economic Forum, the United Nations Environment Program, the BlackRock, and a whole number of powerful financial institutions are trying to return people to the pre-industrial era when everybody relied on organic farming and renewables. Now, yes, it's true that wind turbines and solar panels are more advanced today, but they still use the same fuel, so to speak, wind and sunlight. And we can't power a high energy civilization on pre-industrial technologies. It sounds so obvious when you say it, but so really you've got these elites that are in the grip of a dogmatic agenda. It's an agenda that's seeking to control how people produce food and energy. It's very destructive. It's at bottom, it's very anti-human. I think the good news is that it's so crazy and so bad for people and the environment that you are going to start to see these rebellions, because ultimately the elites can't stay in power if the public revolts against them. And I think it's inspiring that we're finally starting to see that around the world and in different kinds of countries, from Sri Lanka to Netherlands.
Absolutely, but so many people are not fully aware of what you've just explained, because the overwhelming media coverage is in the one direction. It just uncritically accepts what these elites are saying and churns it out. And anyone who is critical is cast as some sort of climate denier. But I want to get your reaction to this news out of Victoria, where their state government wants to phase out gas appliances, including heaters, hot water services and cooktops, so it can achieve its 2030 target to cut carbon emissions by around 50%. What's that going to get us?
A disaster, very expensive energy. It's very inefficient. Natural gas used for heating and cooking in homes is much more efficient than having to turn it into electricity and then have it power. I mean, people don't realize, but we've been reducing our air pollution and carbon emissions in developed countries for the last 20 years by just switching from coal to natural gas. And so, in fact, that's the biggest driver of emissions reductions by far. And so I think it shows that the people who claim to care about climate change, that that's not really their motivation, because if it were, they would want to see more natural gas being used, since it does replace a dirtier coal. And in fact, what we see now in wealthy countries is people returning back to coal because of the climate activists who have stopped all the oil and gas development. And that's happening really around the world. So I just think there's such a basic picture of where we need to be going, which is, if you can use natural gas rather than coal, that's better. If you can use nuclear, that's even cleaner than natural gas. It's not that complicated. If you're using wood or dung as your primary source of energy, then you have a right to use whatever fuel you want. But I think it's telling that the elites, they want us to use solar panels produced by enslaved Uyghur Muslims in China who are in concentration camps, rather than use the energy that our own people produce in our home countries. I think that kind of tells you all you need to know about where the loyalties of the ruling elites lie.
Well said, Michael Schellenberger. I hope Anthony Albanese and Dan Andrews and the Teals, as we call them here in Australia, are listening to your message. Always wonderful to get your insights. Thanks for joining me tonight.
behind all this chaos that you're seeing right now, and it's happening through other countries as well, not just here. It's done purposely. The government knows what they're doing. The people are scared, fearful. They don't know what to do. NUDE has told me, well, hold on here. I just wrote something. Okay, gotcha, NUDE. All right. Thank you. NUDE had woken me up to the fact that this is all fear factor. You look at that brainwashing machine called television, and all you see is nothing but chaos. This chaos is done purposely. It's an illusion of what's really going to happen to us. And what's going to happen to us, and you can write this down and check it out yourselves, the RIF, WEF, World Economic Forum. They started in 1971. The co-founder and CEO is Klaus Schwab. People right now, the elected, unelected, elitists, oligarchs, and people I don't even know, go to this meeting. This is where you got the Green New Deal. You will own nothing and be happy. They're the ones that are starting it. Now, the backing of the money for this company, the RIF, is backed by BlackRock. And the CEO and founder is Larry Fink. He's the one that's doing all this money-wise, monetary shit. He's got over $10 trillion in his bank. Not to mention that ESG that the leader was talking about, they are the ones that are running the show, telling the elites, oligarchs, the unelected, what to do to your country to make it worse for other people, their constituents. The bottom line is, and I'll show you in a while, is they want to eliminate 6 to 7 billion people on this planet. We have 8 billion people now. And again, I have proof of this documentation. We are the carbon base they want to get rid of. So they themselves can have more resources. Now, if they were so honest about what was going on about the Clean Air Act, they would shut down all manufacturers. All we would have to do ourselves is do gardening, plant fruit trees, variety of grapes, go fishing, or whatever you wanted to do without any kind of energy source, meaning your nuclear power plants, coal, gas, whatever. But they're not going to do it. It's all greed. And I'm telling you, they want to eliminate 6 to 7 billion people. And why shouldn't they? They're going to have robotics to take our place. You see what's going on right now. Our jobs are being eliminated by robotics and robots to going overseas. They don't care as long as they get paid, and they're getting paid underneath the table. Your so-called fake leaders. This is what's going on. Write this down, people, and check it out for yourself. You're in a heap of trouble, and it's coming. Between now and 2030, they're going to do some drastic changes. And it's not going to be for your benefit. It's going to be for them. And if you moan, bitch, and groan, they don't care. This is what they want. Blame it on us. There's nothing you can do about it. We are the government. But over 360 million people would just ignore the fact that we had a government. The government would fold because people ain't listening to them. We are the slaves on this plantation. And people don't realize it. Why are we being taxed when the government itself can print abundance of fake money? Why are they taxing us? For control, to work your ass off. We're doing the jobs that they don't want to do. We're doing their dirty jobs. We would die for them when we go to war, where they sit back laughing their ass off. This is something you have to think about. This is what New told me, and he was right. My whole aspect of life's changed. I see things in a different aspect, and I've always wanted to know after the service what was going on. I knew something was wrong, and I didn't know. Thank God that new guru took his time and his patience to guide me through this, and I have to learn more, a lot more. And believe me, if I can get out of this deal, and I'm in the same boat you are right now, I'll go out in a heartbeat just to live out there up north. In World War II, they had a movie on it, and I don't know the name of the movie, I'm sorry, but 2 Jewish German people took off from the Nazis, went out in the woods. After the war was done, they saved over 1,200 people, Jewish people, in the woods. And it's a true story. People survived in the woods. You can do the same. You don't need government. They're going to destroy your life. I mean, literally destroy your life. They're talking about 15-minute cities. Right now, they're trying to implement one right now. It's a pilot mode in Ohio. Check it out. 15-minute cities. You're only allowed to go 15 minutes inside that city. Everything's going to be there for you. All the convenience. Now, if I change the word to concentration camps, would you live in one? Because that's exactly what it's going to be. A concentration camp. But they're going to make it so nice. Oh, you're not going to own nothing. No, you're going to have to rent it. Anything you use, you're going to have to rent. Anything the government touches turns to shit. And it does. All right, let's go on to the next video here. And let's see what we got here. You know, again, as New told me one time, we want quality of people who really understand what's going on, not the quantity. We want to wake up people. And this is what we're trying to do. We teach the willing and ignore the ignorant people. If they want to go down to the Nusami when the river hits, or when the ocean hits and drown in that Nusami, that's fine. Let them do it. You know, I'm going to be on top of the mountain looking down. I try to warn you people, but if you don't want to prepare yourself, then it's your own fault. All right, let's go to the next one here. Let's see, is this the one here? Did it change? Let's see here, everybody. Okay, nope. All right. Bear with me here. Audio check. Okay, here we go. And it didn't work. And why didn't it work? Hold on, people. I always have to go through. Oh, I see why. Okay. Story of my life. Okay, here we go again. Right. Volume's on. Is it on there? Yes. Okay, we got it. There we go, people.
The best job in America, drum roll please, is obviously being a politician. I mean, come on, man. No, I mean that. Seriously. Where else do you have so much influence with so little accountability? And here's an added bonus for you. You can make oodles and boatloads of cash, get that cheese, while claiming to serve the public. What a gig. I mean, listen, maybe we all had it wrong as kids. Idiots, athletes, doctors. What were we thinking?
When you were kids, did you dream about becoming a savvy investor one day who would think with his wallet instead of his heart? I wanted to be a fireman.
Truth be told, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I wanted to be a magician.
I wanted to be a senator.
I wanted to be a florist.
International house pancake.
I wanted to be a ping pong champion.
Let's start with savvy investor Paul Pelosi, you know, the husband of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and together they are quite the money-making machine there. Paul Pelosi just made a genius financial move, buying at least $1 million worth of computer chip stocks just before a major vote in the Senate to subsidize that same industry. Timely, right? Nancy's office, of course, claims she has no prior knowledge of her husband's trades. But when asked about trading stocks months ago, Nancy Pelosi said this.
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he received from you?
No, absolutely not. We have a responsibility to report in the stock because this is a free market and people, we're a free market economy. They should be able to participate.
As it turns out there, Nancy and Paul Pelosi are so good at this stock trading thing. These financial gurus out there follow their every move on social media. I just found out about this. Why wasn't I doing this? Because they're hoping to beat the market too. Just follow the Pelosi's. So how did they get so good at it? Well, they've been beating the system for years. This clip here is from 11 years ago.
Do you think it's all right for a speaker to accept a very preferential, favorable stock deal?
Well, we did.
And you participated in the IPO.
Well, I had many.
And at the time you were Speaker of the House. You don't think it was a conflict of interest?
It's not true, and that's that.
Different hairstyle, same money. So how much money does Paul Pelosi actually trade on the stock market? Well, take a look over my shoulder here. Those are some pretty enormous numbers, and they're all transactions reported by Pelosi just in 2022. Not bad for a politically connected family. Not bad at all, I say. Got to be a politician. Folks, can we consider what would happen if I decided to run for Congress again, and let's say my business-savvy wife, Paula, decided to join forces with me and trade on the stock market like the Pelosi's? You'd never hear the end of it. Speaking of politician privilege, because that's what it is. That same Paul Pelosi was charged with drunk driving just a few weeks ago. And he has a date with the judge in a few days, but no worries. I'm sure he'll just get a little slap on the wrist-a-roo there, just like the Pelosi stock trading habits. As we said, politics, best darn job in America, ain't it? Then there's the perks of being a member of the first family. You already know everything Hunter Biden's gotten away with. Accusations of international influence peddling, allegedly making millions in energy deals with China and Ukraine, doing hard drugs with prostitutes, on camera, I might add. Yet Joe denied Hunter made any money at all.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China? I have not had it. The only guy that made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
Now, this gem from the New York Post, Hunter Biden laptop shows dozens of meetings with dad, business partners. So which is it, Joe? Did Hunter make money on the foreign business deals or not? You know, truth kind of matters. You know, another thing, when I was a Secret Service agent back in the day, it was almost impossible to get a White House tour for my family. And I worked there. Hunter doesn't seem to have any problem at all getting one. I'm calling Hunter next time I need a White House tour. Give me a ring. Let me your number. Like Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden's been in the politics business long enough to know he's too powerful to face any accountability. Best job in America. Again, being a politician, the best job in America. I guess we know how Hunter Biden now can afford to pay $20,000 a month for his Malibu home. Being a powerful politician or one's son really pays dividends these days, don't it? Folks, we can't talk about politicians living large without public servant. I mean, let's scratch that one right there. I mean, public victim number one, our friend AOC. Remember, she used to be a bartender, just wanted to fight the oppressive, evil, capitalistic system or something.
Have you ever had a point in your life where the federal government did too much for you, where they gave you too much? Never happened to me. I've never seen that in my life.
This week, she got arrested for blocking traffic outside the Supreme Court. It appeared she tried to make it look like she was wearing handcuffs. Well, that's some serious drama right there. You know, even the handcuffs for politicians are fake, but not for you, not for you. You get real ones. They get air handcuffs. But last week, she complained about the high costs of needing to pay rent. Oh, in Washington, D.C., in New York City, the drama. Because she's a congresswoman making only $174,000 a year with pennies, by the way. Wait a second, but don't Democrats run those high-rent cities she's whining about? Doesn't she drive a Tesla, by the way? It's not cheap. Oh, yeah, the queen of drama. Even threatened to get rid of the Tesla because of Elon Musk. I'm not sure how that worked out. And folks, don't get this twisted. It's not just Democrats who have political privilege. Remember during the 2017 shutdowns, New Jersey Governor Christie enjoying the public beaches. You know, public beaches you were banned from sitting on. You, the public, you couldn't get out there. You see, being a politician has its privileges. You even get to sun yourself. Then there's our old pal, Barack Obama, the crown jewel example of political privilege. He talked a big game against the elites when he was in office. Remember when he had this to say about making money?
We're not trying to push financial reform because we begrudge success that's fairly earned. I mean, I do think at a certain point you've made enough money.
Yeah, what's that point, Mr. Obama? Can we get a refresher on that? Can we get a comment? I remember the Obamas cashing in with deals with Netflix and Spotify, putting them well on the way to making a billion-dollar brand. What a gig this is. Oh, there's more. Don't forget about their $65 million book advance, and they just think the $20 million deal with Amazon, with Amazon's Audible, while making roughly $400,000 for speaking fees, you know, on the side. All that allows them to afford a reported 29-acre estate. Yes, 29 acres on Martha's Vineyard, worth more than $11 million. Not bad for a community organizer turned politician, right? And those aren't the only perks. One of the best parts about being a politician is being completely, totally free of any accountability forever and in perpetuity. Ignore the warnings on inflation, don't sweat it. Out of control gas prices, just tell everyone to buy an electric car, blame it on Putin. Promises to secure the border, what a joke. Crisis, you're all just a bunch of conspiracy guys. No crisis at the border. So to recap, the political class sent to Washington to be, quote, public servants, right? Enjoy unlimited access to power. They have multi-million-dollar mansions. Their family members who commit actual crimes get slapped on the wrist. They never have to worry about real accountability. Who doesn't want that job? Sign me up, kids. Folks, the reality is we're the people trying to build and make America better. The politicians are the ones making empty promises, then leveraging their power to live like modern-day kings. Joining me now is Fox News contributor and civil rights attorney Leo Terrell. Leo, thanks so much for joining me. Leo, we can't continue to have a civilized society like this. This kind of inequality with the isolated political class, this is the kind of thing that brings societies to its knees.
Dan, you're absolutely right. We're in total agreement. That's why we dress alike. If you notice, I'm wearing the Bongino outfit. And let me tell you right now, that's perfect. It's beautiful. Let me tell you right now, Dan, you can never gain as much money as the Pelosi's or Hunter Biden because you have a value system. They put themselves first. Your whole monologue is spot on. They look at the government and politics as a place to serve them. You put people first. The American First agenda, no, you wouldn't make that much money. You wouldn't make the hundreds of millions of dollars. Pelosi, Biden, they gave me the system. You know why? Because they don't value the principles of this country. The Constitution is just a piece of paper to them. They'll do whatever they can. They'll lie, they'll cheat in order to profit from their position. And that's why you and people who support putting Americans first, we wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Leo, your comments, we saw it again this weekend, just this past week. I'm sorry, Steve Bannon is convicted on basically ignoring a congressional subpoena. And yet, because he's not a part of the connected political class, he's considered an outsider. You know, he's going to wind up spending time in jail. Yet Eric Holder, who we know is a former attorney general under Obama, he did the exact same thing. I mean, the irony of a guy holding a sign behind Steve Bannon saying no one is above the law, while Eric Holder is so clearly above the law, really made me laugh when I saw Bannon talking.
Dan, it's spot on. Look, the Democrats, the rules of laws do not apply to them. If you're a progressive left, you're excused. Dan, 500 riots since 2020. You look at the activities that are going on right now, the unlawful protests in front of Justice Kavanaugh's house. You see any punishment if you're on the progressive left. But if you're on the right, if you believe in America first, you're going to be punished. That conviction of Steve Bannon is nothing more than a dog and pony show designed to profit and to expand the power of the left. The American public gets it. It won't work.
Yeah. Well, Leo, you know, you fought the fight. You were an actual civil rights attorney fighting for people's God-given liberties. We appreciate it. And I love the outfit, my friend. We look like two ninjas here on screen, so I appreciate it.
We are twins, Dan. You and I are twins. We are twins. We are identical truth tellers. Love it.
Yeah. Thank you, pal. I always appreciate your time. Take care. Leo Terrell, folks.
Thank you.
Coming up on Unfiltered, another
People have to realize that this is a big farce. The word government is just like believing in Santa Claus. There's no such thing as government. There never was. There's just a man-made thing to control their constituents, if the constituents believe in government. What happens when that day comes when you have no food in your grocery stores? People think that's where food comes from. No, it comes from farms. And if they tear down the farms, the farmers, they can't grow. Guess who starves? You do, but not your leaders. No, not your fake leaders, I should say. Now, if you get a chance, go on Google, check any senator net worth when they first became senator. See how much money they were worth at the time and check it out today, this year, 2024. 99% of them became rich, millionaires, because they stabbed their constituents in the back. But it's the constituents' fault for believing in government, believing that the government's going to save their asses. And it's not going to happen that way. They're going to kill you. Again, 6 to 7 billion people around this planet will die, be eradicated. And as you can see right now, it's happening with fentanyl, crime, killings, and your government don't care. They make excuses, pointing fingers to each other to put fear in you. And again, the biggest factor is because of that brainwash machine called television. Shut the damn thing off. They're not an asset, your government. They're a liability to you. There's no such thing as government. There never was. This fiat monetary system that we have, which is fake, it's not tangible, it's worthless. They're passing it around, and we're buying it to buy things. And NUDE once told me a tree, an apple tree, you can pick, and it'll never charge you anything. You can eat as much as you want. The tree doesn't know any better. Pick it. If people around the world would just grow a garden, a huge garden, learn how to can their foods, you wouldn't starve. You wouldn't have to rely on government. That's an asset for you, not a liability. And he's right. But people are too lazy to do it. They don't know how to do it. They don't want to learn how to do it because they're so domesticated as sheep, thinking that the government's going to help them out, which is false. And if you believe that, you watch what's going to happen between now and 2030. They're going to put it to you so bad it's going to be unreal. And I might be included in it right now if I can't get out of this damn mess myself. I'm no different than you. But this is things to look at right now. What I tell you is the truth. There's no lies here. And I'm only doing it because I've seen a lot of changes in my lifetime in 70 years. And believe me, it's gotten worse. So if you believe that there's such thing as a government that's going to protect you, go ahead, enjoy yourself. Because you only got about, 6 years left? We'll see what happens. And I hope to God that my videos are still up at that time. So other people can see what happened and why it happened. All right, let's go on to the next one. And here we go. Okay, volume is okay. Okay, here we go, people.
January 6th was a violent insurrection, a violent insurrection, a violent insurrection.
No matter how times they say it, it's not true. It was not a violent insurrection. But there are violent insurrections. You want to know what they look like? Pull up the video from Sri Lanka recently, when angry mobs come right over the wall, kick out the leaders of the government, swim in their pool, go through their sock drawer, start setting things on fire. Why'd that happen? It's not an inherently violent country. It happened because the government of Sri Lanka was pushed to ban all chemical fertilizers. And that decision caused the price of food in Sri Lanka to double. And that causes massive instability and violence. So could we get policies like that here in the United States? Oh, yes, we could. They're on the way. In fact, they're already come to Canada. So first, Justin Trudeau, who, for the record, is a dictator, banned handguns. Now, according to the Toronto Sun, he's going after fertilizer. Quote, the federal government is looking to impose a requirement to reduce nitrous oxide emissions from fertilizers, saying it is a greenhouse gas contributing to climate change. Jerry Ritz knows a lot about agriculture in Canada, which is a huge ag producer. He's the former Minister of Agriculture in that country, and we're happy to have him join us today. Mr. Ritz, thanks so much for coming on. What would, if Trudeau does this, what will happen to Canadian agriculture?
Well, I think Trudeau's banning fertilizer to that degree because he spreads enough himself. At the end of the day, this is his petulance coming through in response to the trucker convoy that took over his home city for about 3 weeks last winter. And then there's been other trucker rallies in support of what's happening around the world. You mentioned Sri Lanka. We saw what's happening there. These are salt of the earth producers that have been pushed too far. We're seeing the same thing now in Holland, in Italy, and you'll see it in Canada too if he continues down this very dangerous path. As you rightly point out, the border between Canada and the U.S. is just that. We're very synergistic when it comes to food production. We buy a lot of inputs from the U.S., including nitrogen, and we send a lot of product to the U.S. to be processed and then exported to the rest of the world. So this is going to affect that tenuous situation that he's putting us in.
But it's food. I mean, the last world leader to mess with the food supply at scale was Mao Zedong, and he killed tens of millions of people in a famine. Isn't Trudeau worried when you mess with the food supply, you're really messing with a core structure in any society?
I don't think he realizes the rabbit hole he's gone down and who he's pulling in with him. At the end of the day, Canadian production is already as environmentally friendly as you can possibly get. Can we do more? We always will. At the end of the day, there's no recognition of that environmental stewardship that our farmers already do by cutting the use of fertilizer, by going to timed usage of fertilizer, by going to elements like sulfur and magnesium and copper top dressing fields as they need it. We map our fields every year doing soil samples. There's very little acreage now that is not under the management of agronomy professionals that then take that map, send it up to the cloud, and that then governs where your seeder puts fertilizer and seed down. It governs where your sprayer makes those passes. So we're already as environmentally friendly as we can with today's technology, and there's more to come. We just had a big ag show here in Saskatchewan, Ag in Motion called, and it was about 90% technology, use of drones and so on. So for him to go to this extent, he is not looking at the big picture at all.
Well, he has no idea where food comes from. No, none. And he may soon find out. Jerry Ritz, former ag minister in Canada. Thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure, Tucker. Thank you.
So one of the rare upsides to the internet is that parents have been able to see what's happening in their kids' classrooms, and they're upset about it justifiably. So a lot of parents are paying a lot more attention. Here's
My goal here, NUDE's goal here, is not to be monetized. I could care less about YouTube being monetized. My goal right now is to try to help people out there, as well as NUDE is trying to. NUDE himself has options for people like you out there who are decimated what's going on, who their backs are against the wall, who don't know what to do. NUDE is the person that can help you out if you're willing to have an open mind and not to be lazy. He can help you out. NUDE is not a liar. He's not a bullshitter. He's direct in what he says. There's many times that when he said things when we first started out, I didn't believe him. I was frustrated. My mind was in a tizzy. So I investigated it myself. And true to his word, he was right. I have no qualms about it. He woke me up. Now it's up to you people to do what you have to do for yourselves. And again, if you think the government's the answer, you're totally wrong. Government is not the answer. You are. Government will not help you. They're for themselves and themselves only. That's all it is. Now, you already heard about the fertilizer incident. This is happening already in Poland, France, Netherlands, Germany. This is happening globally. They don't want to have fertilizers in your plants, crops, because they don't want to feed the American people. They want it to exterminate you. And that's the bottom line. They want you to be screaming at your government, oh my God, we're starving. What are you going to do for us? That's what they want. You don't ask the government for help. You do it yourself. You keep your Second Amendment rights, your weapons. Because I'll tell you right now, you can see what's going on with your guns. Can you imagine what's going to happen without your guns? They're going to step all over you. Fear is a factor here. If you want to fear, try going in the military and finding out you might be going to Vietnam. Tell me how fearful you would be, not knowing if you're going to come home in a box or be blown up or have parts of limbs missing. And not to know that your Veterans Administration won't even help you out in the first place when you get home. That's why they got two tunnels and wounded warriors, because VA hospitals ain't helping veterans out. It's a shame. But you have to make your decision what you want to do. And the best way to do it is get off the grid. Do it slow if you have to. Start growing food. Do what you have to do to be an asset for yourself, not a liability. Uh-oh. News writing some bad things to me. Now, your bananas are bigger than yours and your growers. Oh, Saishi's here. How you doing, Saishi? But this is the stuff that you're going to have to realize what's going on. First of all, you're going to have to deprogram yourself thinking that there is a government. There is never a government for you. Never. They're out for themselves. They don't care about you, your children. And you can see it in the education system. The education system that I went through was indoctrinating me as a young man. Be a good little worker bees. Do good in school. Learn the rules and obey your government. Obey the police. You know, it was all bullshit, all lies. And that's all it is lies. All right, let me go on to the next video here. And we'll see what we can get into here. All right. Audio check. Yep. Okay. Here we go, people. We got it. Okay, we're all set. And here we go.
Show. Now, a new warning tonight about DNA companies and your personal information. Your DNA information can be sold and weaponized against you. The alarm being sounded. Listen to this.
You can actually take someone's DNA, take their medical profile, and you can target a biological weapon that will kill that person. And people will very rapidly spit into a cup and send it into 23andMe and get really interesting data about their background. And guess what? Their DNA is now owned by a private company and can be sold off. We have to have an open and public discussion about what does the protection of healthcare information, DNA information, and your data look like, because that data is actually going to be procured and collected by our adversaries for the development of these systems.
And before anybody goes crazy on this out there, that's a Democrat Congressman, Jason Crow, so not a right-wing talking point. I have been warning people about this for years, since 23andMe and all those spit in the vial, send it in. We're giving our information away. Health information is valuable information about you, and also the abuse and where the data is stored. You brought up that point in the break, Tammy. I want to go to you first. Who has the data matters here?
Well, I am the product of an affair. I don't really know anything about my father. So this DNA stuff was fascinating and very important to me. I've learned so much about who I am that I never could have guessed. And that is because of DNA. It's not the data or DNA that's the problem. It's the companies or the countries that control the data. China, of course, over a decade ago, like they do everything, moved into this. We are allowing China in relationships with hospitals, buying up companies regarding medical data, involved in when it comes to paternity and maternity, finding out about your fetus and the health of your baby as the baby's developing. It goes to China. The control and the knowledge, the data they have, to say nothing of hackings of hospitals, hackings of our health insurance companies, right? The Office of Personnel Management, Obamacare, really, we're looking at China and Russia, et cetera. So in deals that the American government could control, we have less control over data. We're allowing foreign countries, enemies to gather this data and, yes, to potentially use it. The fact that that discussion was at the Aspen gathering with American leadership, not in a cave somewhere on ham radio with conspiracy theorists. They've known this for at least a decade, and our government has done nothing to change it. So my message is, it's not the data or learning about who you are that's the problem, any more than a firearm is the problem. It's whose hand is the data in. And that's what we are aware of when it comes to firearms, when it comes to the nature of this. We don't, it's like suddenly they're saying, don't use the data, don't use don't find this out. We need to be able to, but they're correct. Right now, our enemies have access to that information.
So Tammy brought up government, and there's a process that we have, and various processes, and a responsibility for Congress to deal with these companies that come into our country, invest, Chinese Communist Party controlled countries, the CFIUS process and others, which covers anything of national security interest. So to the former congressman here.
And the problem with CFIUS is the fact that you have the board members of CFIUS who are not just serving government and the people, they're looking for their next life outside of government. And so they'll make decisions that are not in Tammy's best interest, that the Chinese government's not going to get her DNA information. Right. They look at themselves and where they're going to work once they're out of government. The problem is, if I spit in a cup, that's one thing. But if my cousins or my parents or my siblings spit in a cup, they get my DNA regardless. And so when I was in Congress, we weren't dealing with DNA. We were dealing with social media privacy. Your information on the internet, on social media, should be yours. And people that are our age, I'm excluding Jackie, our age, we actually care about privacy. But everyone Jackie's age, they couldn't give a darn. They're like, take it, I don't care.
They haven't known it. They haven't known privacy.
Because they haven't known privacy. We have, and we've lost it. They've never known it, so they don't know what they're missing.
All right, so let's add another aspect to this.
Chicken.
Senator Joni Ernst weighed in on this. And by the way, let me add, how many of you have added your animal DNA out there to find out who your animals are from? But here's what Senator Joni Ernst had to say.
If we look at food security, and what can our adversaries do with biological weapons that are directed at our animal agriculture, at our agricultural sector? hoof and mouth disease, highly pathogenic avian influenza, African swine fever. If targeted by an adversary, we know that it brings about food insecurity.
And she's 100% right. She's 100% right. And look, when it comes to data, the point that you made about social media and the fact that our data has been cannibalized for years now already, it should be no surprise to anybody that the 23andMe, for example, could turn into this. The weaponizing of it is something that we're all thinking about after COVID-19. If you subscribe to the theory, even if it was an accident that COVID originated in the lab, you can see the catastrophic consequences of what could happen there. And so people really need to think about what they subscribe to. The power that we have right now is not with Congress. It's actually with the individuals. And I tell people all the time, don't put Alexa in your house if you don't want people listening to you. Don't buy 23andMe if you're against what they're doing with the data. All we can do is stand up for ourselves and protect ourselves and not sort of follow the herd, follow the crowd.
And to that point, because I have
phone, a listening device in and of itself. Right? I mean, we've got them all with us.
This was a wake-up call in that I've got the Alexa, and I was like sitting around, and the Alexa chimed in and said, by the way, would you like us to tell you to drink some water if we hear you coughing?
Yes.
And it's like, no. What? First of all, does that mean that means you would need to be listening? It's like that is the under the ground permission.
Listening.
It is the permission to listen constantly, regardless of what it is you've asked.
We're going to go, I know, but I want to talk about cows and DNA. And is there a certain American DNA in American cows versus like cows?
Well, there is.
So we have different virologies, different systems. This is valuable information. The point
different lines.
Back to Tammy on this again. Who has the data? Who uses it?
Yes.
You have to realize that these laws and rules that our fake government does to us are nothing more but demands and commands. They're telling us what to do. They're not asking us. We, the people, there's no such thing as we, the people. It's them, the people, telling us what to do. These rules and laws that they state that they are is like me having my front and back door with locks on it. I'm keeping the honest people out. But if they want to break in my doors, the crooks, they will. And that's the way government is. They know these rules and laws will not work. And they don't care. They know the crooks are going to come in and do what they want to do, regardless of their laws and commands or demands. It's bullshit. And again, people, 350 million people, put it in their mind that there's no government, it would be a better world. We don't need dictatorship. We don't need communism. We don't need fascism. It's bullshit. But yet you people believe, and it's going to be your downfall. And again, you only have 6 years left, and you're going to start seeing a lot of changes. Even if Trump does get in office for 4 years, which all he does is executive orders anyway. the new president that comes in after him will take those executive orders and rewrite them. So you might have a pre for 4 years, but still it's going to come. It's amazing how this is working against us. And the only solution is to get out of the grid of government. Start doing something for yourselves. Shut that damn TV shut off. It's nothing but a brainwashing technique, fear. You see these news group medias, the same people that go once a year at the correspondent White House, eating dinner on our taxpayers' dime, eating steak, whatever they want, drinking champagne, laughing, looking at entertainment, and then the person in question is fighting back and forth each other. Well, the Republicans done this, the Democrats done this. We should be doing this. No, they're all the same. Democrats or Republicans, all three branches of government break bread together and eat at the same dinner table, throwing bones on the floor to us constituents. And this Green New Air deal, if that was the case, why are they shooting rockets into space? To control us. That's all it is. Control. Electronics and technology was supposed to help mankind. Well, it is. It's helping your fascist people, not us. Get off the grid of government. That's your best deal. Let's move on now. A friend of mine, which a lot of you have known, Frosty, he went to Peru. His wife belongs to Peru, and he visited his family member, let's say, or her family member. And he sent me some pictures. These people live abundance. They have food all over the place. They don't rely on government. They rely on themselves. And it's a beautiful area. And I have pictures here to show you this. So let's go to Peru and let's look around and see what we can get into here. Now, these are just pictures. They're not videos. I try not to do videos because of the fact that YouTube doesn't like the idea about it. So, all right, here we go. Let's see, we got audio. Yep, we do. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's there and there.
Donuts on the beat. Donuts on the beat. us on the beat. Donuts on the beat. Donuts on the beat.
What are you waiting for? Buy this beat.
Purchase your tracks today. 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 Purchase your tracks today.
Donuts on the beat. Donuts on the beat. Donuts on the beat. Donuts on the beat. Donuts on the beat.
These people got it together. I'm telling you, in Peru, they really do. They wake up in the morning. If they want to go shopping, they go to the little malls they have there outside and pick fresh fruit, vegetables, everything. Or if they just don't want to be lazy, they just go out there in the wooded areas, the forest, and pick whatever they want. It's up to them. The cops there leave the people alone. However, as I was told, if there is an incident, the cops will take it in hand. They'll stop it. But basically, the cops leave the people alone. They don't even bother with the people. These people are family oriented. When our friend Frosty went to Peru with his wife, the family of his wife kept visiting every day, different people, just tons of people. He couldn't believe it. They're all family oriented and they care about one thing, themselves. Fuck the government. So anybody, if somebody wants to come on up now, because I'm going to have to start cooking, or I'm going to have to get off this StreamYard for now, and I'll come back probably later on tonight. So does anybody want to come up and start? I'll give you about a minute. You're right, Sashi. Come on up, Sashi. Joe Cool. I need somebody up here so I can do my thing here. In other words, I need help. The link is in my description up there on top. Knew don't fall for it. Okay. All right. In that case, I'm done for now because I have to do my thing. And I thank you very much for showing up. And I'll probably be on tonight if I can. I'll catch you later on. Race for Vets. We are done and over with. And I thank you very much, everybody, for showing up.